Hey guys, welcome to the second part of my two-part devlog for the Brackeys 2020.2 Game Jam. If you missed the first part, click the I right now and come back after checking it out. The first thing I made on day 3 was a spring item. The code for the spring was basically, if the character was on the spring and pressed jump, his jump force would multiply by 3. Next thing I got to work doing was animating the character while he was grabbing things. I used an animator override controller to replace the animations while he was in the grab state. I also made a duplicate item as a child of every item to act as the grabbed graphic. The cool thing about this method is if the item would fall and rotate, the grabbed item would also be rotated. I got to cracking on a level select menu. By this point, I only had 5 out of the 20 levels I had planned, but with the way I coded the menu, it would automatically update as I added more levels. Basically, the code would just call a number that the text on the button said, and then load the level with that build index. I also had to make a back arrow UI element to signify going back to the main menu. Then I got to work on a pause menu. This menu would pause the game and then show options to either quit, resume, or go to the main menu. Next time I do a game jam, I think I'll try to make the buttons look better. I'll also do that if I ever decide to update this game in the future. I also made a level counter UI element that would display whatever level you were on by saying the build index. That was it for day 3. Day 4 was mainly about designing creative levels. I tried to make sure to use new elements in cool ways, like trying to use the block items to get to the spring in order to get to the door, but it did start to become a bore. There was also quite a lot of playtesting involved on day 4 by my friends, to see if the levels were able to be played by an outsider without much instruction. Level 6 was one of my favorite levels. It's all about using the spring to find a way into this room, and there are so many ways to do it. I won't tell you any of them, but it really is my favorite. During playtesting, I made the realization that the spring could rotate, and then it didn't really work well. So I decided to freeze the Z rotation of its rigid body, and that fixed it. Now came one of the mechanics I thought up on day 1. I wanted the rewind button to be able to fall out of the cassette player, and the character would lose the ability to rewind, and would have to platform up to the button to get it. I'm really glad I thought of this early, so I could dwell on how to pull it off. This mechanic would lead to helping me shove in a last minute mechanic on day 6 too. I had to rewrite some of the player movement code to allow for a bool to be turned on and off to see whether a button was in the level, and if so, the rewind mechanic would be shut off until it was plugged back into the cassette player. I also went back and made one of the earlier levels more easy because it was downright impossible to get into the door to do. It was downright impossible to do unless you were the coder of the game and knew the glitchy exploits. I found a weird bug where my code for some reason wouldn't allow for multiple springs to be in the same level, so that led to this weird level where you had to pile up blocks to get to the button to get into the door. On to day 5! Day 5 was the least productive day of the game jam. First I made a theme song, which you're listening to now. The problem is, it didn't fit the game at all, so I end up making a newer, much better sounding theme in day 6 anyway. Also, I made a main menu theme, which I actually did use. I also made a jump noise and a select noise. Then I made a level and playtested every level to check that they all worked, all the music and sound effect lined up, etc. On to day 6. Here's those new epic beats I mentioned earlier. Then I made more levels, playtested them, the whole shebang. I also imported a logo scroll for the startup sequence. Then I made some lore about why the character exists and the unusual movement. This plays at the start of every playthrough unless you use the level select menu. Back to the level making shebang. I needed at least one more mechanic to really make the last 7 or so levels unique the next day. So at 10:30 on the night of the second to last day, I coded a key to add an extra step to some puzzles. It's a bit glitchy, but the time that I had left was so that it really didn't matter. I had to get these last levels done. That's it for day 6. It was finally the last day of the game jam, and I just had to hunker down and make some levels. Then I made a win screen to play after you completed all 20 levels. Then I made a win theme to play. It's based on the main theme, but a little different. I added a quit button to the main menu, and I also added a credits button. I also added some life to the main menu by animating the text. I added a little more hint text for the earlier levels. Then I had to start making the itch.io page. I took screenshots, made a background, and made a trailer to make my page stand out, even if it was just a teeny bit. I submitted my game with only 5 hours to spare. And that's it! I completed my first game jam, and my first game in general. Just a reminder to check out the itch.io page and rate it. I really hope you guys liked these 2 devlogs, and we'll be back to normal content very soon. I do plan on joining future game jams eventually, so stay tuned for that. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!